Uh-oh, the dog's here.
Okay, tell me about your drone story before
Well,
I
it's
go
not a
into my
story.
topic.
There's drones all over. There's drone. Look, I don't know what it is, but there's drones flying over New Jersey and stuff. And apparently there's big ones and small ones, and they're all over the place, and nobody knows what they are, and the United States won't shoot them down, and nobody knows where they're coming from. And people are saying, why New Jersey? Well, New Jersey has a lot of oil and oil refineries and stuff. I think some military stuff. Um, but why? So where are these drones coming from? Some of them are big. If you go online, they look big. They look big. I don't know if they are, but they look big. So who's controlling these stupid drones?
Where are the drones flying over?
And and the U.S. military, some was the FAA or U.S. military said they came from like from the Atlantic Ocean inward.
From the ocean?
Well, from over the ocean, I mean. Like, so where are they coming from? Like, are
But
submarines launching them? Are they
yeah, but where is it flying over? It's just a
New
city?
Jersey?
Just a city? No,
Well,
nowhere
I don't know. I
specific?
don't know New Jersey that well, but you can go online and check it out.
Or people like, do you think it's like a UFO kind of thing, or
No, I think what it is it's the United States government trying to cause panic. That's all I think.
uh,
Why wouldn't they shoot them down? They're unidentified objects flying over American airspace with no permits to fly. Why wouldn't they shoot them down or at least investigate? Well, because it's the U.S. government,
hmm,
right? So why? To cause panic? I don't know. Why would you want to cause panic in New Jersey? I don't know.
that is weird.
But it's odd. I'm sure there's an explanation. Um, but is the explanation Chinese? Is it Iranian? Is it Russian? Is it American? Maybe it's Canadian drones. We have a very large military budget for Canadian military drones. Justin Trudeau sent in his
Great.
drones.
Oh, Justin.
So I don't know, but it's a thing. It's going on.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's new for
Well, you
me.
got to read the news.
Yeah, I don't. So let's keep it
That's why
away.
you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not big in Canadian news, but it is on like Fox and CNN and stuff. Where are these things coming from? So, of course, you get something unexplained. There's probably an explanation, but you get something unexplained, and all of a sudden it's UFOs or the U.S. government or the CIA or whatever. So, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that is. But I find it interesting that we have all this technology and mass amounts of information, but people still go right to conspiracies.
Because
You know,
it's fun.
that is fun, but it doesn't take any brains. Well. That let's take a step back. There are things outside, like the Hunter Biden laptop, and so like that stuff was all misinformation by the government. And so are they spreading misinformation about these? Who knows? Maybe. But are you gonna what? I think I was watching a video, and already some guys had some guns and they were shooting at the at these drones. But
Can't you get arrested for that?
well, sure, if the cops knew who were, but they were using tracers, and you could see the tracers fly. They missed, but they were shooting at these drones as they went. It was funny.
That's crazy.
That's what I'd do.
What if these drones have cameras and they decide to arrest you for doing that?
Well, if they had cameras, then we'd know where they came from. But there's not one drone; it's drones, multiple.
Hmm,
Yeah, this was quite interesting. I don't
that's
know what
weird.
it's. I don't know what it's going to be, but the crazy like there's so many drones now, right? So even Alberta to combat whatever illegal crossings there are on the Alberta Montana border, Alberta wants to deploy drones.
Hmm.
Right. So who's controlling the drones? Are they fully autonomous? No. So where are they going to be stationed from? Who's going to be flying them? So there's all these things because drones don't have to be flown close. Drones, if they're military grade, by GPS and other things, they can be flown halfway around the world. They don't have to. You don't have to be in the vicinity.
Mm-mm.
Did you know that?
I did actually. You can be halfway across the world to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And, right. So, who knows if they're that sophisticated or not?
Yeah. I. This is a perfect way to start, kind of. I want to start off with a warning though, because this topic is talks about like trauma and airplane crashing and survival stuff, like cannibalism. But so I'm just gonna throw that out there right now.
Are you talking about the Andes crash? What are you talking about?
No. The crash that happened in 1972 between the airplane that was leaving from your
Uruguay?
Uruguay.
You're
Is
talking
it
about the
Uruguay?
crash in the Andes and they ate each
Yeah.
other.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
The movie's called Eat Me. No, it's just don't eat me, bro.
No. What was it called? Something in the
Uh,
snow.
Society in
not as good as steak.
Society in the Snow. Dad,
Salt and pepper,
it
please.
was
What was it called?
Society in the Snow. Society in the Snow.
Well, I remember, and they, some people died, a bunch of people survived, and then when food ran out, which they didn't really have any, um, they started slicing and dicing their friends into kebabs and steaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch the movie?
Yeah, there's two. There's one on Netflix now, and then there's one that was made a few years ago.
I saw the one we saw. I wanted to watch a light movie with some comedy and, just end the Friday nicely. And Mutsu decides to ignore that and turn on Society of the Snow or whatever it's called.
Did you know what it was about?
Well, I kind of got the gist of what it was about, but I didn't know the full story. I've heard of it, but I didn't know it was going to be this dark. So we started the movie, and then it was a lot. I'm kind of traumatized by that
Yeah.
movie. And I did more research into it because now I was curious why the plane crashed.
Why?
Do you know the reason
No.
why? Oh, okay. So the reason why was that they were flying to Chile, right?
Yep.
And to do that, they have to go south. They have to even though the Uruguay area in Chile, it's kind of like a little north of where they started off. They
Across
have
the
to,
Andes, they have to go across the Andes.
yes, but they have to go down south because the Andes are so large.
Too high
If
for
they-
those planes?
Yes, so they had to go south, and there's like a little cross area that they go through and then go back up north to get to the airport. And the co-pilot, so I'm just sourcing literally what the internet said during my research, but according to the internet, the co-pilot was
Drunk?
they blame the co-pilot by being inexperienced.
Well, what's the pilot? What the...
That's what I was like, wait, that's
Wait,
why the
what?
pilot is there.
That's why there's a pilot.
Yeah.
He's got 4 stripes. The co-pilot has 3.
Yeah. So internet blamed the co-pilot. I don't know. But when they got into the Andes, they were supposed to pass a specific landmark.
Like this, yeah. And they did.
And that landmark, once you pass that landmark, you have another 10 minutes to go until you land.
Okay.
But they miscalculated that. And when they passed that landmark, only 3 minutes later, not 10 minutes, they decided to radio in and say, hey, we're ready for landing.
Oh, okay.
And because of GPS,
They started their descent and they didn't have GPS at the time.
yeah, and so they're
crashed
starting
into
to
the side.
descend, but then the pilot then was like, wait a minute, this is not even close to where we need to start descending.
yeah.
But they already descended really low.
Pull up.
So they started pulling up, and the stories of like the survivors said the airplane was basically like
Almost trying to go straight up.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was vertical.
Vertical. Going vertical.
Yeah, and the tip of the tip of the nose actually made it over the ridge, but it was the back, the tail hit, which really set the plane off. Obviously, it set the
Yeah,
plane
it's
off
gonna smack
balance,
it and then bring it down.
yeah, and then the right wing like hit something, and then so it went downhill from there.
Yeah, really downhill.
Yeah.
Guys
It
woke
was
up in the
so
morning looking
crazy.
at their next door neighbor saying, hey, let's party tonight. Little did they know they'd be having him for dinner,
Yeah.
not going out for dinner.
Dad, it was so traumatizing. I had deer meat today. I couldn't eat without
What?
feeling a little sick.
Stop.
'Cause
What?
I had deer meat
Dude,
today.
it's a deer.
I know, but I was overthinking it because the movie scene
Yes,
they
because
actually
deer
show
and people
you.
are very similar. Yeah.
No, but in the movie they show you them eating the meat. So then I was trying to
Where did they like take a thigh or what'd they do?
okay, so this is gonna get graphic here. So I don't know. Don't listen to this
Okay,
part if
real
you don't
quick,
listen to
go.
it. According to the survivors,
Yeah.
they started off with really small portions of the skin
Oh, gee, that's tough. No, you got to go straight for the
because
ribeyes.
they knew these people. They were their friends.
Oh, you got to start slow because
Plus,
Pedro, we don't know if his Pedro's tasty.
plus
And
they're
there's
religious.
psychological barriers,
They're
right?
religious, right? They're Catholics. So if you eat, like if you if, if you intake in cannibalism, you're damned. So there was that religious part as well, apparently.
Well, I mean, I could
So
see it, right? So you got likely Catholic folks. I don't know that that matters, but probably it does. But Christians, any Christian faith or offshoot would be against cannibalism, as I think most religions are. And so, yeah, you would probably have a. So they probably start, hey, Pedro, we don't really want to eat Pedro, but we'll start with a small piece, see how it is, and see if we can psychologically get over that.
yeah,
Otherwise, we're going to die.
yeah.
And then from there, they went into the ribeyes
Well, they went into
or the
the
roasts.
organs
Why?
because how many people died around them? So like more than half of the people died, right? Um, they started off with the skin and
I didn't know this part. I saw the movie a long time ago. I didn't know this
the
part.
fat. There's just like really thin layers at first because it was really hard to
I
get
would have
over the
gagged and
fact that
puked everywhere, probably.
yeah. So you should watch the
Did they
movie.
start a
It's so
fire to like
traumatizing.
have a rump roast?
No, they
Oh,
just ate it like that.
raw?
Yeah.
Nasty.
But
I probably
because
would have chosen to die.
I think so
I don't
too.
think death is that scary.
But
But then
they
survival instinct might kick in. Who knows, eh?
because they needed more nutrients
Yeah.
and they're getting used to the idea of just eating
Yeah.
people.
Eating people, yeah.
They ate the heart, the liver, lungs,
Nasty.
the brain.
Dude, there's no way. I
Yeah.
can't eat that. No, there's no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, and
How did they crack the skull open? That's gross.
there was metal scraps everywhere. We can
Yeah,
use
but why
those.
not just cut off a piece of the thigh and you can have a nice
They did,
steak?
but they're running out of food.
Oh, they ate their friends too
They ate
fast.
15 people. Dad, they were stuck there for 2.5 months.
Yeah, but they could go on a diet.
They did. They're waiting for people to rescue them. They waited 8 days and they had a radio. They waited 8 days and then on the announcement, they heard the announcement saying, "We're done looking for them. And we
So
will
who
look for them
eventually found
next
them?
year." Two guys, from the survivors, the two men, volunteered.
Oh, they went down the mountain or something, didn't they?
They crossed the mountain for a week and they made it to Chile and there's somebody there and they're like, "We are from this airplane and we are survivors. There's more we need like we're alive. Come help them." And then so the whole mission of like they got helicopters and then one survivor went on the helicopter and be like, "They're over there," kind of thing. It was
That's crazy.
crazy.
That is crazy.
And I was traumatized and Mutsu had a nightmare about that.
See, today, like, so back then they didn't have GPS, but today, you know how airplanes disappear? Like, there was that Thai Airways one, I think, disappeared or whatever it was.
You know the Malaysia one you were talking about?
Yeah, or Malaysia.
That was back in 2014.
Yeah, 2014 or whatever it was. So the crazy part is, I don't know how they lost that airplane.
Okay. I think. Sorry, you can go first. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No. What do you think?
I think there's somebody, deep state or government, that are trying to hide something because to this day they don't 100% know, according to them, where the airplane is exactly located. They have some theories because there's some plane parts that they have found, but they can't 100% guarantee that, and they've never found bodies.
Well, so they never found, here's the other crazy, they never found bodies and just a few parts floating around. Here's the crazy part. Like, if you go on like FlightAware, you can see where your airplane is, or any airplane in the world. Like, well, how do they know that? Well, the engines have their own signals going to satellites. So if you have Rolls-Royce engines on a 787, for example, Rolls-Royce is constantly monitoring those engines on the airplane and know exactly where it is. They know the RPMs, they know the fuel usage. Like Rolls-Royce can see everything about those engines, let alone the airplane having its own GPS,
Yeah.
right? And other systems.
Yeah.
How they lost that plane, I don't know. It's very suspect to me. It's very,
I
very
think so
odd.
too. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But now I've got a little anxiety going to Japan after watching that
Oh,
movie. I'm a little traumatized. I'm not gonna lie. That movie was a lot
so what you have? So
emotionally.
go to the doctor and get some Ambien, and then you'll sleep right through the whole flight.
I'm okay. I don't need that, but I just think I just need some time to chill.
We'll get some Zolopidem then.
Yeah, that was it was so much. It was too much.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
thinking about right. So I can eat a deer. I can eat a lot of things raw. I can eat. I can, obviously gut a deer. I don't know if I could like a family. No, that's too much. I
so
would.
there's one guy. He was a survivor. He was one of the guys that just volunteered to hike
Oh
to
yeah,
find somebody. He lost his mom and his sister, and he was like, "Please do not touch them."
yeah,
So they left because the survivors, they're from the rugby team,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then there were other people. Um, the majority of the survivors were the rugby teams.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So yeah,
they knew,
I remember that part of the story
yeah,
actually.
they knew
They knew each other
each other.
pretty much.
So
Yeah.
they had a really hard time
Well, I
getting.
would. I would be the first to volunteer to go down the mountain, right? Then I
But
don't
after how long though?
right away. Screw that. I'm going.
Even though you're like, oh no, there's people looking for us, and every day you hear the planes fly over. There multiple times rescue planes flew over.
Well, I'm swearing at the rescue planes, but going down the mountain.
Mm,
I don't know. What else are you gonna do? I mean, I would take all the clothes off all the dead folks and at least wear the clothes and maybe bury them in the snow so they have some honor. But I would be making my way down the mountain,
mm.
right? Number one, then I don't have to eat my friends, right? Jesus, you're good, buddy. I'm not gonna eat you. Then if I die, at least I'm trying my best to make it and the
Mm-hmm.
survival instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I do make it, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they do find the airplane first, at least they'll kind of know which direction to be looking for me. So I would be comfortable with that. That's
Yeah.
what that's what I would be
I
comfortable
know.
with.
I was watching it and most of these people never seen snow before and they don't
Yeah, I
know
mean, you're up there, right? It's
what to
cold, but
do.
once you know how to build a fort, like when I was a kid, in Boy Scouts and stuff, we had to learn how to build that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, snow's warm.
Yeah, they had the plane to
What
keep
I mean is,
themselves
snow's
warm.
warm if you make the cave properly, right? And out of the
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've never seen snow before, you wouldn't know what the heck to do.
Yeah. And they experienced an avalanche once or twice.
Yeah, I can.
And
I'm surprised the whole airplane, the whole mountain, didn't slide down.
yeah,
'Cause
I'm surprised as well.
that's
But
crazy.
they had a few avalanche
But if you have never
experiences.
seen snow, like even driving in snow, if you've never seen snow, you don't know how to drive in snow.
Yeah.
I mean, Edmonton and Calgary get snow all the time, and the first day of snow, there's crashes everywhere,
Yeah.
right? So forget that you've ever driven in snow, but even if you have walked in snow, traveled in snow, been in -20, -30, -40, like we have, but if you're going from a place that's never seen snow to that environment, like in the snap of a finger, snap of,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, I could see where that would be
Yeah.
crazy. You got to deal with that unknown and where
Yeah.
you going unknown.
Yeah. And people that were surviving and they're still healthy because of that avalanche and it came into the airplane part, a lot of them suffocated and died.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, the snow covered the airplane.
Yeah. Like it came
Oh,
inside because the
oh,
plane was like literally
yeah,
half of
busted
it
in
was
half. Yeah,
missing.
yeah, yeah.
So the snow came in and people were suffocating and they're trying to some of them were digging other people out. This dude had a wife and she survived too, but because of that avalanche and he because of the way the snow pushed him, he was on top of his wife
Oh, and he couldn't get out.
and he
Couldn't get.
couldn't get out the more he tried to get out, the more you sink, right? So
Well,
he
the
was in
other.
that process of like I don't want to suffocate my wife, but I need to get out for to save her. So then he was in a dilemma of how do I get out without crushing my wife?
Well, the thing about avalanches is once because it rolls you,
Yeah.
Okay, avalanches don't crush you; they roll you, and then you get covered by snow.
Yeah.
And so then you can start digging. If you have space, you start digging, but you don't know if you're digging up or down.
So I heard the trick that you should spit.
Yeah.
You
So
should spit so then the spit.
if you can
Yeah.
build the space,
Yeah.
right? If you can, if you can't build the space, difficult. But then, right? And sometimes the snow is just too heavy. So what do?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna suffocate. You're gonna. It's like drowning.
Yeah.
Not very, not very fun. I would imagine.
No. But I was just watching. I was like, oh, what would
Why
I
you watch such an
do?
uplifting show on a Friday for?
I wanted to watch a nice show, but then Mutsu said he wants to watch this, and now I'm traumatized. Like, genuinely, I've never felt so,
Yeah,
like, uneasy.
sometimes, well, recently I watch action shows on Netflix, the new ones that are made just for Netflix. Holy crap, are they terrible? I have to turn them off after 5 minutes. I can't stand
Well,
them.
this one was
No,
really
but when I
good,
mean
like,
terrible, I mean
in a
just
different way.
there's no story.
Oh,
It's all
yeah.
CG. It's just garbage, right? Um, what was I watching? I'm watching Dune. There's a prequel to Dune. There's on Crave. There's four.
Oh, yeah, you have Crave. You haven't shared your password with me.
What's on my TV? There's four shows, and it's interesting. The intrigue, right? So there's not a lot of killing and violence and stuff, but there's intrigue. So I find that. But what I can't watch anymore is shows that are like just violence for the sake of violence. Like
There's no
the
point.
violence doesn't bother me. It's just like, what is this crap?
Hmm.
Stupid.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of movies these days are not,
It's just stupid.
they're just not.
I say that word a lot, stupid, but they are just stupid. It's just stupidity on screen. And it's violence for the sake of violence. There's no story whatsoever. Character development is poor. The CGI is so overwhelming that there's no possible way anything that's happening in this movie could ever happen.
Hmm.
Right? So if it's a comic based movie, okay, like Deadpool, fine, I'll watch it because it's Deadpool and it's a comic book.
Hmm.
But then you got these cop shows or these other shows where it's just off the charts and it just drives me up the wall. I can't watch it anymore. But
Yeah.
then also like horror movies and stuff.
I don't watch
Or
horror
Dexter, you
movies.
know that show Dexter? I
Yeah.
know you like that show, but I watched it for a little while and I was like, why am I watching this dude kill people? It's stupid.
I just wanted to see if he gets caught or not. After it does get repetitive. There's so many seasons. I think there's like eight
Yeah,
seasons
there's
of
like eight
Dexter.
seasons,
It
right?
got really repetitive, but I watched it till the end, and the ending was very
You know
unsatisfying.
the only TV show I've ever watched, the end of this, there's two TV shows I've only ever watched.
Wait, can I guess?
Yeah.
Modern Family.
No.
Okay, Friends.
Yes.
Oh, then I don't know the other one.
House.
Lost.
House. In
Oh.
fact, I've watched Friends twice,
Yeah.
and House I finished the season once. But I've never ever finished
Oh.
the seasons on any other TV show ever. I get bored. It's the same
Hmm.
crap, right?
Yeah.
Same over and over again. So very little like new stuff. The dog snoring. Very little new stuff. So, eh. I watched. What did I watch? Oh, your mom and I watched. I think there's 8 episodes on Netflix. It's called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich" by Ramit Samri. Samri.
Mhm.
Well, he goes. Well, so I like finance because I'm hyper focused on retirement.
I think whoever's listening, I think they get that.
Yeah, and so he goes through all these people and their financial positions, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" Right?
Hmm.
And I found, but we watched that, but that was only 8 episodes.
Yeah. Well,
So
it'll get repetitive.
yeah. Well, I was like, okay, how many idiots can I watch who don't know how to manage their money? Okay, I mean they're not idiots; they're just people caught in traps. But I found it interesting. Um, and then I, all these people watch Game of Thrones. I tried, couldn't
I
do it.
never tried.
I
I
got
don't
I got
care.
done the first season and then forget it.
Yeah. I heard season 2 and 3 are better.
They could be. I just remember going to Croatia
Yeah.
and seeing where they filmed it all, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is where they filmed the blah blah blah." Like, right, the tour guides
Oh,
going,
and you're like,
"This is where they
oh.
filmed this." I'm like, "Oh, that's very interesting." I don't know what the hell.
Well, there
I
you go.
mean, the old stuff there, like the castles, and then the town, Dubrovnik. where they filmed, and you can see like they had a civil war there recently, like
Oh.
Serbia,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? You can
Yeah.
see where the mortar rounds had hit the rocks and damaged some buildings and stuff like that. You can and bullet holes, a few bullet holes here and there, so you can see that. But then when they started, which I find very interesting, but then when
Uh-huh.
they started about, oh, this is where they filmed the season 3 episode, blah blah blah, and they'd have a show you a picture. Whatever, I don't even know.
Well, you haven't watched it, so why would you care?
Well, even if I did, I wouldn't care. I don't
Oh,
care what
okay.
they did in there. I could care less.
Well, I care because Mutsu and I hiked a mountain. Was it Grizzly? No, no, no. The one where you can see the where they filmed in
Yeah, but why is that?
Interstellar.
Oh, what?
They filmed Interstellar. You know that scene where they go to the really cold planet?
Yeah,
They filmed that in the Rocky Mountains here.
get out. Like on a great glacier somewhere?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
And we hiked a mountain, and then some other guy, he was very nerdy. He was like, "Did you know?" to his girlfriend or his wife. Did you know they filmed Interstellar right over there? And then it was the cold planet scene, and they were there for X number of days filming it, and da 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 da. And I was listening. I was like, "Really? What's? Did you hear?"
Really?
Yeah. And then so they filmed some scenes here in Alberta during wintertime.
Hey, look, with the Canadian, I think Alberta's going to boom over the next few years with the Canadian dollar being so crap.
Oh, and that zombie thing.
Oh, The Last of Us?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
also
well, that was
filmed
filmed here
here.
too, but I think they're going to film more. The Canadian dollar's so crappy and Alberta's so welcoming. And it's not a dump like Vancouver is, but they used to film a lot of stuff there.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's
Vancouver
safer
is
and
not
it's
great.
cheaper.
Yeah.
I think Alberta could really boom, especially if they filmed movies, TV shows like Yellowstone and stuff. If they did that stuff here,
They had recently had Jennifer Lawrence and
I don't like them.
some other well, anyway, some really big TV
I don't like
person
them either.
film a Hollywood movie here in
Yeah, yeah,
here in
yeah. I mean,
Calgary
yeah, yeah.
during
I
the
believe
summer.
it. I believe it.
There's actually a lot of movies being filmed in Calgary.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
It's great.
I,
And now
I,
I can say, "Oh, that's where blah blah
well,
blah."
I mean, that's the interesting part, right? So when you see The Last of Us, you can go, "Oh, I know that building," or "Oh, they CGI'd the crap out of it, but I know which building it is."
Yeah, yeah,
So I find that interesting, but what I find more interesting about an old place like Dubrovnik, for example, or Japan, is when I go to the castles, talking about the history. I don't care what they film there. I
yeah.
really don't care.
I am listening to a podcast of that explains of Shintoism,
Oh, nice.
and
Are you converting?
I am not converting because I already
Are
have
Shinto?
have Shintoism in my blood.
Okay.
I didn't know Shintoism doesn't have a scripture.
No.
Didn't even think twice about it until they said it, and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah." Wait,
So where does
what?
Shinto get its?
So, for as long there, even according to historians and people that research Shintoism, they know that it was practiced before it was even called or recorded as Shinto.
Interesting. So in Japan, and it Shinto is the one that originated in Japan,
It started literally, we don't even know how it started,
but it was in Japan,
but it was in Japan and only in Japan.
right?
And the first time they used the word Shinto on record, or like recognized as Shinto, was in the 1800s.
So what they call it before that?
Before that, we have no idea what they called it, but the
Are you
stories that
sure?
they tell and the record of when they first started calling Shinto, it aligns. So we don't, I personally, I'm not done listening to podcasts. I personally think Shintoism didn't need a name because that's just how the
Well,
Japanese people
well,
lived.
right. If you're just doing something, what do you need to name it?
Yeah.
That makes
And
sense. That makes sense.
and Shintoism actually don't believe in afterlife. So that's where the Japanese use the
Well,
Buddhism.
yeah, they leverage Buddhism to have the reincarnation.
Yes.
That's why people might not know this, but in Japan, when you're born, you're Shinto
Mm-hmm.
under the Shinto things. Otera? Shinto,
Shrine.
jinja. Shinto have jinja.
Yeah.
Buddhism has the
Otera,
otera,
which is temple.
and then a lot of people have a Christian marriage.
Like 90% of
Yeah,
Christian
I don't know
marriage.
that it's that high. And then, So born Shinto, Christian marriage, die Buddhist
Yeah.
is typical,
Yeah.
right? And then there's probably a whole bunch of weird, other stuff in between,
Yeah.
right? But that, yeah, that's
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just listening to that and I thought it was interesting.
it is interesting. Yeah, why give it a name? That's just what we do.
Yeah, but first time ever on record, 1800s.
But you can see Shinto, the ideals of Shinto spread throughout anime, like what's his name does Miyazaki.
Oh, is she like
It's all over the
Ghibli
place, right?
movies
Ghibli
and
movies,
all
all
that?
that stuff, right?
And the Shinto that we know today is very modernized in the Shinto, obviously, when they first.
But you can still see it.
Yeah,
Even in the monster mangas and stuff, anime and stuff, you can
yeah.
still see it.
So,
Well, if you have to recognize it, Japanese people, I don't know that Japanese, well, of course Japanese people do, but the otaku and the foreigners like me, the kids over here, when they're looking, they wouldn't see it
unless they research it,
unless they
yeah.
researched it. But yeah, it's definitely in there. Isn't it?
Yeah. And so I thought it was really interesting. And I didn't know the story of how in the Shinto story how Japan came to be.
Mm,
So I didn't know that and now I do.
interesting.
And Shinto is an interesting culture.
It's a way of living. It's a
Yeah.
culture. It's a way of living.
Yeah.
It just is. Yeah.
It's I obviously I'm not done with the podcast like I said, but it's a
I have.
very
Look,
interesting.
a little book of Japanese contentments. And so all throughout here, it's not Shinto specific, but a lot of the things that this talks about are actually specific to Japan culture and country, and a lot of them stem from Shintoism. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm enjoying it. I'm learning the roots, of my half of my people.
Well, yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
so like yoga is part of a religion.
Yoga came from
Mm,
Hindu? I don't
I
even
think it's
know.
I think I think
But
it's
it's a
really
type of
deep.
ritual.
From
Yeah.
India,
Yeah.
right? It's ritualistic. Obviously, there's Christianity and Judaism. They borrow from each other. All the Abrahamic religions borrow from each other. Shinto was the way in Japan. Buddhism here, Buddhism there. Um, you know, uh, Islam is pretty much the Middle East and some of Africa. So I think that's pretty cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? The way that these, um, you know,
It's cool that they were able to grow, but Japan was just like, nope,
Japan was this island, right?
we're
This is
gonna
just the
keep
way
it.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why Japan kept kicking the foreigners out.
Right now.
No, no, no. All the way up until the
Oh,
late 1800s, the
yeah.
Japan. So from the 14 somethings to the 1800s, Japan didn't let any foreigners in. I think only the Dutch. I think
To a trade.
because the Dutch said, well, you know what? Screw it. We're not going to try to convert you anymore. Let's just trade.
Yeah.
Whereas all the other guys from Portugal or whatever, they were all trying to convert Japan at the same time, and they just said, "Screw you. We got our own stuff.
Yeah.
We'll trade with you, but and only these people because they are not going to try and convert us." But everybody else they kicked out until the Americans came in the late 1800s, and like the Last Samurai is like around that Jedi,
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
generation,
mm-hmm.
and then that's when they start. I think, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. So that happens to every country
It does, but
except
I
America.
I
Well,
just
I shouldn't say that. There was people in North America before Columbus came, so that
yeah,
depends which side of the coin you're on. But
yeah. But I am enjoying it so far. I'm learning way more than I knew. And it's from two white guys, not even from Japanese people.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I would not be able to understand it in Japanese.
Yeah, I mean,
It's too complicated.
yeah, I mean, I've given your sister books about Bushido and other things. I haven't read it for a long time, and there's things like this book that talk about Japanese isms, right? Um, like kintsugi and what is kintsugi, and
Like
the philosophy of kintsugi.
the
You know,
philosophy of wabi sabi.
yeah, yeah,
Taking
that kind of
everything.
yeah, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
so I'm gonna cut you off because you're talking about that. You remember when mom told us, or you even told us, where the meaning of when you use kansha suru, which means to give thanks,
yeah,
but it's rooted in the Japanese like Shinto religion or Shinto
Yeah.
culture, or the way that the Japanese say 雨が降ってきた and 雨が
出してきて。
違う雨が降ってきたと雨が
降り出した。
降り出した
Mm.
which means like it started raining.
Yeah.
And then you use two different the way you say it changes if the rain is if the rain is falling on you, if it's hitting you, or if you're watching the rain fall from the inside of somewhere. So anyway, Japanese culture is much deeper than I think a lot of people know of.
Yeah.
And I don't even think a lot of Japanese people know their own.
No, they don't. You know, when I worked in Japan, my boss was, at least 10 years older than me. And I said, not, I can't remember what I said, but I said something about kunoichi. And she said, what is that? I said, well, that's what a female ninja is called. She said, what? Yeah, kunoichi. That's a female. Why? Kunoichi, right? That's how you write. Oh, no. And she didn't know that. She was like,
I learned that in grade 1.
I don't know if she's just pulling my leg or what, but I got the feeling she actually didn't know, which I found interesting. But maybe it wasn't a thing. Maybe
no, actually, I've used the word kunoichi a few times with my Japanese friends, and some of them would say, "What the heck is that?" And I'll say, "That's a female ninja."
Where did we go? Last time we were in Japan, we went to one of the castles, and there were some guys for the foreigners, for the tourists, doing samurai, and you could take pictures in the samurai outfit. So we stopped it.
I love that.
Your cousin, who's a girl, dressed up in the ninja outfit and to take a picture, and I said, "Oh, Beri-chan konnichiwa." And all the old guys, "Oh, you know that word?" Oh, yeah, I know that. And then the conversation goes from there, and it was a lot of fun. But I get the feeling it's not. There's a lot of little things like that, and I certainly don't know very many. But there's a lot of little things that Japanese people don't either study or don't recognize, and don't clue into, just because it's daily. So I find that fascinating. I love Japan. Maybe when I retire, I'll move there.
Okay, so
See if I can get around.
Let's count the places you said you'll retire. It's a never-ending list.
Well, I haven't figured it out yet.
I know. I like to bug you.
It's a tough call.
Yeah,
right?
I bet.
What are you gonna do?
Well, I already know where you should retire.
Where?
Karuizawa.
The only problem with Japan is they're insane, and I mean insane taxes. Inheritance taxes in particular. Like insane.
I know.
So I'm gonna have to try and figure a way around that legally.
Yeah.
I
don't know either. Yeah.
Anyway, what was it? Go ahead.
No, I don't know.
I was thinking about when we lived in Saudi Arabia. They opened up the Ithra building. Oh, you weren't there. It's the Ithra in Dhahran, in Dammam.
What's the Ithra building?
It's like their big cultural center. Okay.
Okay.
Cost billions. And it was interesting. I don't know if the building's worth billions, but apparently that's how they launder money there. But
okay.
Right? Well, the very first movie that they showed there was a Day of the Dead cartoon. I can't remember what it's called, but it was all about Catholicism and Day of the Dead. And and they don't normally let that stuff in the country. I'm like, well, who in the government approved this? Because it certainly didn't have anything to do with Islam.
Huh, yeah.
And I don't know if they understood that it was 100% Catholicism, Day of the Dead, Mexico stuff. And I thought, well, just like we watch Japanese movies or, Korean or whatever, and there's all that culture and religion, especially older, like Chinese as well, all that culture and religion mixed into one. And there's religious connotations to it, but we don't recognize it. I'm wondering if the Muslim guys in Saudi Arabia that approved that movie to be shown in Saudi Arabia, right, had no clue that it was talking about Catholicism and Day of the Dead. I'm kind of going in that direction.
Yeah.
And what it was even funnier is that in that whole movie, it's all Catholicism and Mexican Day of the Dead stuff, but the only part they cut out of the movie is when two characters have a nice, 5-second peck on the cheek. That's what they cut out of the movie. Everything else stayed. I was like, This is very interesting. It's a cartoon for kids, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Oh, is it Coco?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I think that's what it's called, Coco? Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I think so. But I thought that was funny. Oh, not the intricacies, but the dichotomies of that country in particular.
Yeah.
I I
That's
still enjoy. I don't know if I'd want to live there again. I'm much, the money and stuff was good, but I much more enjoy the the freedom and stuff over here. You know, do you miss the money and the travel? Yeah, but I find it much more easy to digest everything here.
hmm
So maybe Saudis do too. They travel a lot, so I don't know. But
yeah.
it was fun, right? The country was fun. But anyway, I thought that part was particularly interesting. And when I left, I was like, I wonder if people knew, right?
Probably not. Um, I want to talk about one more thing
What?
that I can think of. You're talking about buildings. I saw, okay, Dad. I remember now. I watched the news on YouTube.
Okay.
Some malls in America are now building apartments.
Being converted?
No, it's a regular mall, and then those just some parts that have been vacant for a long time, they just turn into an apartment
Yeah,
building.
converted into an apartment. That's what I said.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Changed into.
No, it's still a running mall.
Oh,
It's
what?
still a running mall, but they have like a wing that is
Oh, like, oh, okay, okay.
for apartment
Yeah, so
buildings.
convert, so the mall, the living part of the mall is converted to living, but they still run the mall part.
Yes,
Okay, well, yeah, because there's too many square feet of retail space, so they want to make more living space. That makes sense.
yes. And it's weird because it's completely open to the public, so people that don't even live there can just go on in. So you have to keep your doors locked all the time.
That doesn't make any sense.
So you know how, okay, usually malls have 2 stories or more. Usually.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do I explain this? The first floor, it has bakeries and, little nice
All the mall stuff
mall stuff.
hmm
Second floor
is all housing?
is all doors to the little units. That's it.
Really?
Nothing separating them.
And people buy these?
And people live in them. Yeah, they buy them, they rent. I don't know if they rent or
Well, you
something
know
like
what?
that, but
Housing is so damn expensive. I can see where they could take all that space, convert it, and then people would actually, I, I would like some security, but I can see where people that would actually buy stuff. I mean, you don't have to travel anywhere to get your food.
yeah,
You don't have to travel anywhere to get your clothing.
yeah.
You might have to deal with people, but I'm sure there's security. So,
Well, this one they were like, there's no security. The only security is you and the door lock,
well, that's
which I thought was unsafe. And the units, because they face inside, right? Because they're no mall. They're huge windows, and the door is a window too. So if somebody wants to just smash the window and walk in, they could do that. So I don't.
that's all. There's
I get.
something missing there.
Yeah, I get what they're trying to do,
You
but
gotta have
but
security. You
in
gotta
this
have something. Yeah,
interview,
that's
they
crazy.
were like, yeah, you
Yeah, but
sometimes
I
have
bet
random
they're
people
sold
trying to
out.
open the doors.
I bet you they're all sold.
I don't know. It didn't
I'm
say.
gonna Google that. That sounds really
But I
interesting.
thought that was smart. That's one way of using vacant spaces, because
If
malls are
if
dying.
you if you can if you can convert a vacant space to make whatever a living space needs to be legally, like windows and other things, I say do it because there's so much retail space in America that's wasted.
Yeah.
But Japan's the same. You got all these buildings all over the place that are abandoned, let alone housing. Forget houses. There's lots of those, but there's also buildings all over the place that are just abandoned.
Yeah.
I mean, why not convert them into something, not necessarily living because the population is falling, but why not convert them into something else?
Which is what there's actually lots of startups in Japan now where they take those abandoned
And
homes and
they ideate something new, right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which
That's
is really
I
nice.
want I want, in our situation in Japan where we have that building that's being used but not being used, I want somebody from one of those consulting firms to come down and say, here's the building. Here's the challenges that it has. What do you think it can be converted to,
Hmm.
right? Legally. Is it living quarters? Is it office space? Is it growing vegetables and other stuff indoors? Like, what can this space be turned into? And if nothing, I guess you could tear it down, but right there's lots of space like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess people will just figure it out and I don't know, just go from there. But I thought that mall was
To me, that would be
interesting.
sketchy, but if it's cheap,
But
if it's cheap enough and you want a place to live,
yeah, and they can even cook in there. Like they don't have
well,
like a
that's what I mean,
proper
right?
stove.
Huh?
They don't have a proper stove.
How the hell are you supposed to eat?
I have no idea.
That doesn't
She
sound.
was so they gave a whole tour of the unit. If you look it up, you can see it. They give a whole tour of a unit. It was tiny,
Yeah,
tiny, tiny, tiny for US.
but if people want to, I guess.
But
So what do
but
you bring in? A little gas stove and from.
I don't think you're supposed to have open flame in there. So I don't know how she explained it, but I wasn't listening to that part.
See.
I
No,
was like,
you
that's
gotta have a place. That's.
weird.
I mean,
But
even you need four walls. You still gotta have a place to do your thing.
yeah,
How the hell would you shower and cook and stuff?
you can shower. There's a bathroom,
Is it
but there's
shared?
just like no, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
No
there's no
thanks.
open flame thing or whatever it was because it's not up to code.
Yeah, of
So there's a
course.
fridge and a really tiny sink, but nowhere to
But
cook.
no,
But
no.
she said, I got everything downstairs. I live in a mall.
Well, that's true. If
So
it's
okay.
cheap enough, the money you save on your rent, I guess if you budget it properly, you could just eat downstairs,
Yeah.
at the food court for cheap, right?
Yeah. And she said some days she doesn't even leave because she has everything within her
That
reach.
makes sense if she's working from home. So you got internet you can plug in, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Don't know where that would go. I hope the situation would get better if it continues because that security part,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's creepy.
That felt
That's the creepy
weird.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like there should be a proper, like a fob to get in, or like a little, like a guy,
But don't
something.
underestimate the desire of people to have their own space. So maybe it's a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll give up certain things to have their own space
Yeah.
and budget properly so they don't have to cook. And if you got a shower and you can at least have your internet and you know, maybe it's okay.
Maybe.
So good for them.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all I got for today. Thank you for joining us.
And in the comments, if you leave some, tell us what you'd like us to banter about, and we can probably get to it.
Okay. Well, let's grow this channel first. Slowly but surely.
Don't call me Shirley.
Okay.
All right.
Slowly but Brinsley.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.